Dakorien Moore is off to an awesome start. I am thoroughly enjoying watching him play college football for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's been a long process. When you go back to when Oregon first, made an offer and goes out and he commits to LSU and he's committed to LSU and you're thinking, it's an outside chance, maybe it doesn't happen. And then Rashad Samples gets hired, the Duncanville connection is there, and he commits to Oregon. They're able to keep his commitment throughout the cycle. And I think he's off to a fantastic start. Now, statistically, he's actually not in the same range of where Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams were a season ago, also five-star, highly rated true freshman wide receivers. But what I look at is, does he look like he belongs already? Because if he does, there's going to be another gear. And I think that's the case. His numbers, frankly, are not blowing you away, but he has made several impact plays, which I think is more a reflection of how many weapons this Oregon offense has. As the season goes on, I think Dante Moore is going to find chemistry with a couple of guys more than others. I think Dakorien and Sadiq are going to be big parts of that offense going forward. But I do think there will be a strong element of balance out there. So Dakorien Moore so far has the 65-yard touchdown. He had the 25-yard touchdown run last week against Oklahoma State. The first game, he didn't do anything bonkers statistically, and they were playing a whole bunch of guys and whatnot. But I almost landed on the answer to this question, which I sent to my Locked on Ducks insiders the other day, which you can become as well. Free 14-day trial. Click the link in the description below. You get priority mailbag access, a bunch of other perks as well. But I asked a question, besides Dante Moore, who is Oregon's best offensive player? You can make the argument the answer is Dakorien Moore. The reason you can do that is twofold. Number one, we have seen the ability to do a variety of things. Fly sweeps, quick passes, explosive plays. The playmaking ability obviously has to be there. But number two, is there anything else you can bring to the table? If I'm considering you as Oregon's best offensive player, not named Dante Moore, then you probably have to be able to bring a number of things to the table. And so his ability to not just make plays, but also be a threat to make plays, I think is very real. Take, for instance, the touchdown end around to D'Air Hill against Oklahoma State. Dakorien Moore lined up in the backfield, and he ran left. They faked it. D'Air Hill in the end around, walk-in touchdown. Now, that play was incredibly well blocked. That matters too. But I bet the defense caught a look of, oh, hey, one's in the backfield. He's already got a big touchdown here. We better give him a lot of it. And then they bring D'Air Hill around. It was just a masterclass in play calling there from Will Stein. So I think you can make the case that he's the best offensive player, not named Dante Moore. I have him as second. And it's close. But Kenyon Sadiq, I do not care what Pro Football Focus says. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen Pro Football Focus put out. I don't care what their reasoning is, but to have Kenyon Sadiq graded as below a 60 through 2 games is wild work. That is wild work at this point in time. Sadiq hasn't actually put up huge numbers so far this year. He's got the 20-yard touchdown. He had a big catch against Oklahoma State, and that's kind of been it. Except for the fact that he brings that other thing to the table. If you took Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon's offense, who also has that, threat of being a playmaker and, just someone that draws the defense's attention, like he definitely has that. And Dakorien is a blocker. Well, we can't overlook that. The reason I'd go with Kenyon Sadiq is that he's used as a blocker in running situations more than Dakorien Moore is. And so Dakorien's blocking is something I've talked about a lot. This entire team on the perimeter has been unbelievably good. The offensive line has been unbelievably good. One of you out there said Poncho's the best player. I think you can make that case too. This offensive line has played darn near flawlessly through 2 games, and you have to give the lone returning starter a lot of credit for that. Now, Dave Iuli's basically a returning starter from last year, but he wasn't a full-time. He was a guy that started in several spots and has of course been around. This is, I think, Iuli's 4th year with the Ducks because he was a 2022 recruit, 22 or 23. Anyway, so I think after Dante Moore, I'd go Sadiq number 1 because of everything that he can do, including but not limited to lining up in the Wildcat spot. I wonder if Will Stein does that against Penn State just to give them a taste of their own medicine. I bet you they do. That'd be fun. I'd say Dakorien's number 2 and Noah Whittington's nipping on his heels at number 3. And the reason I put Whittington at 3 is he doesn't have as much of an ability. Not that Noah hasn't played great. He looks better than he ever has before. I mean, just absolutely awesome stuff. I'm so good with him as Oregon's number 1 running back because he's doing everything well. He looks really, really good. He does rely on somebody like Kenyon Sadiq or Dakorien Moore to spring him free. Whereas Dakorien Moore, on his 65-yard touchdown, all you have to do is get him out there running a route and he can just beat the guy straight up. And so I think that gives Dakorien a slight edge positionally. But, if you want to make the argument for the other one, I'm not going to push back on you in a major way. But, I think Dakorien has been really, really good so far. And as he gets more settled into the offense and into college football, and Oregon maybe has to throw it a little bit more. I mean, when you run for 280 yards a game, which is what Oregon's at right now, then what in the world do you need to throw it a bunch? Once they start airing it out a bit because they can't run for over 200 yards in a game, I bet Dakorien Moore starts putting up some big-time stat lines throughout the course of the year. Speaking of which, I sent this question out on Twitter the other day, and I said for the next 2 games combined, Northwestern this week, Oregon State next week, how many points do you think Oregon will score? Here were the responses, or some of them that I got. For 2 games combined, 101, 102, the old Price is Right approach right there, 130, 90, and 91. Going back to the conversation about whether Oregon gets challenged at all between Penn State or what's the biggest challenge between now and then, kind of seems, and maybe that's too small a sample size, but based on everybody else that I interact with, not just the responses to that particular message, I get the sense that Oregon fans have that same level of confidence for, these next 2 games, not going to be close. These next 2 games, Oregon's going to absolutely roll. And when Dakorien Moore hasn't even hit 100 yards receiving yet in his career, and Oregon's averaging 64 points a game, it's hard to not feel that is the case. So I think in these next couple of games, I haven't made my score prediction yet. I'll save that for Friday here on the show, or I'll have an article that will go up on 750thegame.com where I have my score prediction. That'll be up on Thursday. So I think for Oregon in this spot, I go back to that question that I got right before the season about, hey, do you think Oregon will hit the 50-point threshold? They didn't get it last year. They've done it in each of the first 2 games. I don't think they could. Okay, let me rephrase. It's hard to put up 50-plus points in 4 straight games. Does this offense look like it could do it? Yes. Yes, it absolutely does. I imagine either Northwestern or Oregon State can hold them under 50. I'll just leave that right there. Oregon will not score over 50 in each of their next 2 games. I don't know which one's holding them under 40. I really, really don't. So, if that happens, hey, let's look at why and see what they have to adjust as they lead up to Penn State. But there's just a lot of weapons here, which is reflected in what my answer is about to be. This question from Dan's Ducks. If at this point in the season you had to rank Oregon's top 5 wide receivers, who comes to mind first? This does exclude the tight end position. Well, Malik Benson has been statistically the most productive. Is he the same type of route runner Dakorien is? No. I'm going to go Dakorien first. I'm going to go Malik Benson second. Gary Bryan is third. I'll go Justice Lowe at 4th. And though I thought this would maybe be a different name at this point in the season, Jeremiah McClellan is probably 5th. And I'd put Cooper Perry before Kyler Casper, who it looks like is just going to... He's seeing the field, by the way. He's getting out there. He just hasn't had the ball thrown his way a whole heck of a lot. But, I mean, McClellan looked awesome. He caught that deep pass from Luke Moga and juked the guy out of his shoes like it was nothing. So, I'll say Dakorien Benson, who I think is playing awesome so far. I didn't have huge expectations for him, but he's playing well. Gary Bryant, incredibly solid, just as solid as they come. Justice Lowe and Jeremiah McClellan. And that the next 2 guys are Cooper Perry, a true freshman who's good enough to see the field, and Kyler Casper, who's a veteran. I think this receiver room is 7 deep. 7 deep. Just a wide receiver, not pass catchers, just at wide receiver. So That's why it's hard to see the offense being, slowed down by a couple of teams that shouldn't be able to match up with them physically in Northwestern and Oregon State. It's like you go take away, even if you go double Dakorien Moore every play. Okay. Good luck with that.